Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another episode of the Just Seen podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the inner child, just different aspects of the inner child, because I'm learning that the inner child is something that it's an energy, it's a form of energy that I've learned is kind of hindering the growth of a lot of people, myself included. Like I had to do my own inner work to heal my inner child and bring them up to speed, so to speak. Because there's a lot that goes with our inner child, and they kind of our inner children die until we bury ourselves, and a lot of us, for a lot of us, the inner child dies early, um, you know, and then we just keep moving. We just keep moving. We don't really take the time to spend time with our inner child. And we don't take the time to listen and truly enjoy and embrace what it means. And it's like, it makes me wonder sometimes, because when in just understanding my own inner child and actually spending time with it and getting to the core of, like, when I lost it, the things that, kind of went, left for me regarding my inner child and everything. I see a lot of people kind of in the same position, same boat of, like, it happened and quote unquote I became an adult and shit. And, some people never had inner children to be able to be shown and shit, and then different paradoxes and polarities, evolve and emerge out of that. So it's like, how important is our inner child? And in that same regard, on the other side of that, why is it so important to kill it at such a young age? A lot of our inner children died a long, long time ago. We were still babies when our inner children died. We were still kids when our inner children died. Our inner child. I hope you don't have more than one inner children. Nah, I'm joking. If you do, you do. Do your thing. Do your thug thizzle. But, yeah, it just makes me, like, wonder. Because, like, in reviving my inner child, tapping back into my inner child again, it changed my perspective. I know for a fact, spiritually and mentally, I kind of stopped aging, and in some regards physically, you know. And I think that has everything to do with the energy our inner child brings us, and what our inner child truly is, you know, and what it represents, what it can be, and all the things that it's supposed to be. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I've been getting that question quite a bit about inner children. I've been seeing a lot of things, being spoken on about the inner child. So I figure, now would be the best time to do it, because it's constantly in my space. So it's a reason for that. You know what I mean? It's a reason for it to be in my space. Just like it's a reason for it to be in everybody's space. I think a lot of people right now, especially during this whole 2020 year, one of the biggest things of healing that they realized that they really had to do is tap back into their inner children. Their inner children. A lot of people's inner child came back. A lot of people realize how far gone their inner child is. But the inner child has been a very, very, whether people are willing to admit it or not, the inner child has been a major breakthrough piece and a major piece of what people need to uncover within themselves within this year. Some people look at it as, I want to get my finances in order. I want to get this. Yeah, that's cool. That was a lot of the tasks, but a lot of the inner work, a lot of the things that have really been put on the forefront are people healing their inner child. They finally had time to sit with themselves and know that, okay, it's time for me to start working on something, And when we look at their self-care, when we look at everybody telling us, do the work, where does the work start? At this point, I've said it enough in podcast episodes about do the work, so we kind of know what the work is, but where do we start? You feel what I'm saying? To take on the task like that of transformation, of personal transformation, the inner healing within itself, what is the first thing you have to start with? And it's the inner child. And because it's the inner child, it's often the last thing that people start with. I don't know if it's because they hear the word child in it. I don't know what it is, but when we heal our inner children, everything else falls into place. And I think a lot of us, we miss that. Not only do we miss it, but we may not just know it, that all of our personal healing, all of the healing and all of the things that we really need to do internally, it's going to start when we heal our inner child. It's not going to start when we get over the heartbreak. It's not going to start when we forgive this person and that person for what they've done to us. It's going to start when we actually start to deal with our inner child. Because our inner child is going to guide us to the other pains. It's going to guide you to the moment you stop living. It's going to guide you to the moment you stop feeling. Because your inner child knows. Because those are the things that your inner child yearned for, longed for, that always wanted. But somehow just couldn't get them. Not only couldn't get them, but couldn't get them in a capacity in which was healthy for it to thrive. You feel what I'm saying? So when it comes to the inner child perspective, I wanted to just, give my take on it and give my piece on it. So this is going to be kind of like inner child healing, where to start healing. I think that's what I'm going to call it. So before I get started, be sure to follow me on Instagram at _just_seen_. Be sure to check out my website at IamJustSeen.com to get all things Just Seen. All of my books, So for the Reality, Black Male Masculinity, So for a True Toxic Femininity, Hitting a Raw, Living a Raw, Plant-Based Lifestyle for Life. Any of my courses, Mastering the Market, A Comprehensive Guide to Forex Trading. Speaking of that, I'm going to eventually change the names of Forex Trading and Investing, because I know it confuses a lot of people, because I do teach both concepts. I just specialize on Forex, so that's what I titled it. But I'm going to eventually incorporate both names into the title at some point. So you can, be on the lookout for that. To all who tip, sponsor, and donate to the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. You help keep it moving. You help keep the content coming out. You help keep this information that I present from my perspective of the world on the forefront. I appreciate you all for that. To all who would like to tip, donate, and sponsor, you could do so by clicking the link in the description of your podcast, not the episode, but the podcast itself. You can, of course, sponsor, but you can also Cash App and PayPal. They work just fine. You can also get your merch, all new designs, all the designs that I personally created myself with positive affirmations. The most recent design that I just released, the Peace, Love, Knowledge, and Freedom design, and I released the compliments over compliments. I'm going to be making a lot more coming soon, so there'll be a lot more new things and new items in the different collections that I have. One more thing. I think that's it. If you would like to book a chatting session with Seen, where we talk about anything from anything in the world, inner healing, inner growth, learning certain things, study sessions. It doesn't matter. You can book a session with Chatting with Seen. That is all on the website, IamJustSeen.com. That's about it. So there's nothing else for me to say here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into inner child, where to start healing. I think that's what we call it. Inner child, where to start healing. Oh yeah, and don't forget to visit IamJustSeen.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So Frail series to your library? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to learn how to master the market for serious trading and investing? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You ever want to just chat with Seen about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at IamJustSeen.com. So just take a quick peek into my world and see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it. You will never see it unless you visit IamJustSeen.com. All right. Welcome back. And just dive straight into it, y'all, because I know that's what y'all here for. You feel me? But the inner child, right? Healing the inner child is, first we got to discuss what the inner child is. You feel what I'm saying? What the inner child is. See, the thing about your inner child is that it has a level. Your inner child is not a child. Let me say that. I want to say that first. Like when we envision our inner child, we envision a little kid. Yeah, that is good representation for it. But your inner child could be grown as fuck still. Your inner child could be a grown ass man or a grown ass woman. But the inner child is more of an essence personified. You feel what I'm saying? It's personified as the energy, it's the essence personified as a child because of what it contains. Children, it's symbolic. You know what I'm saying? It's all symbolisms. Just how you have symbolisms of, let's say, we look at spirit animals a lot, right? But if we understand the true, I guess, cosmic connection and shit, everything is basically solar until it has a soul. So it doesn't matter what species it is. It still has a soul that can resonate and give you a certain message based off the characteristics and the criteria of this particular thing, right? That's how spirit animals work. The inner child can be classified as a spirit animal. But of course, we know humans aren't animals or whatever the case may be, but we don't look at it like that. But your inner child is really the personification of your innocence. It's personification of your imagination. It's a personification of your naivety. It's the personification of freedom, fearlessness. You feel what I'm saying? That's why it's like a lot of our deeper fears are overcome when we're children. And they're also given when we're children. But that is where, the inner child is supposed to be an ongoing thing that grows up with you. So it can, in essence, still become an inner adult. However, it's classified as the inner child because of the characteristics in which it embodies. Okay, which are personified within this thing that manifests within you. So a lot of these things that happen to us, as kids when we're growing up, our inner child begins to get smothered out. The flame starts to dim. You feel me? And when that flame dims, quote unquote, we become an adult. We become a fucking adult. Bills and shit, frivolous, stupid shit that, we don't really spend too much time trying to overcome. We just accept the way it is. But a lot of these things are killing our inner children. And the sad thing about the inner child is that the inner child dies, but it's never buried until we're buried. That's the part of you that dies. People say, "Oh, I died inside, and this heartbreak happened, and that happened." A lot of those things are just effects and things that hit your inner children. For a lot of people, their inner child died or just remained dormant until like from childhood. A lot of us had to grow up fast. A lot of us had to grow up real fast. Take on responsibilities and accountabilities that we didn't have, that we weren't supposed to be given as children. You feel what I'm saying? But we had them. And those things keep us from being stuck in that loop for so long. It takes away from our inner children. Now, the thing about the inner child, because of those characteristics that I expressed, the innocence, the naivety, the deep imagination, creativity, all of those things are extensions of your inner child, right? But your inner child can be split two ways. Just as with the universe, how the universe works, everything has a duality. Everything has those two polar sides, opposite sides of the same coin. Everything has it. So even your inner child. So your inner child has a divergence, which can either be childlike or childish, right? A childish inner child means that you still need work. There's still work that has to be done. There's still there. You lack that maturity of your inner child. To be childlike is a different dynamic. It is embracing the inner child fully, wholly, and completely, and knowing that the inner child within me is alive and well. And it's something that I need to take care of. It's something that I need to care for. It's something that I need to put work in, but, discipline. Because you got to think about it. I don't know. Maybe it's just a bit of my perspective, but I feel like the reason why we're giving parents on this earth, for one, we need them. We need guidance and shit. But our parents are, quote unquote, tasked with showing us how to grow up with keeping our inner children intact. But the parenting model, the parenting system is designed to kill it. It's designed to kill the inner child. We can argue all day long. We can go back and forth. But the parenting model is tyrannical. It is master and slave type relationship. You feel what I'm saying? It's you don't have anything until I give it to you. And I don't just mean financially as far as, taking care of yourself, but I mean ways of the world, learning, growing, developing. You have no choice in it. You have no choice in it. And it's a reality that our inner children are being killed by the adults that have had their inner children killed. And so the inner child part is like the parenting model. The parents, the adults, they're tasked with making sure children's inner children don't die, but they're the ones killing you. You dig what I'm saying? And they kill it on so many different levels, because you have the level of, those parents who can never complete their dreams, or those adults who couldn't complete their dreams. I'm not going to just say parents, because we interact with a lot of cynical adults. We interact with a lot of cynical, miserable motherfuckers who are old, and as we're developing as the children, they give us fucked up shit. Now, granted, I know every rapper probably did not go through this, but to hear them say, yeah, this is for the teachers that said I never amount to nothing. You feel what I'm saying? It's like, damn, bro, like, that's some real shit, because teachers do that. I've never had a teacher tell me no shit like that, but I've heard teachers say shit along those lines. Like, show me who your friends are, and I'm going to show you this, and show me that. And they show you these things. And they tell you these things not knowing what it's really doing to your inner child. It's like, you're going to have to grow up. You're going to have to, your imagination changes. You feel what I'm saying? It changes. And then it becomes something that's not imaginative anymore. I know people that are my age, older, that say, I don't know how to be creative. The fuck? What you mean you don't know how to be creative? Like, you feel what I'm saying? I don't know how to be creative anymore. And it's like, how? And they would say things like, well, I've never been creative, or no. There's no way you were given a brain without creativity. Like, there's no way around it. There's no way around it. We are all birthed and given creativity. It's just the certain things that kill our inner children, that make us lose confidence in being creative, make us lose that ability to tap into that essence within ourselves. You feel what I'm saying? And like I said, initially it started by the adults, passed on to the siblings. The siblings will eventually help stop it too, because theirs is being killed, so I got to kill somebody else's. It's like within the tyrannical system of parenting and adulting, what happens is that it becomes a trickle-down effect, because one of the things that goes hand in hand with that is control. The inner child also goes with control. You feel what I'm saying? See, what people don't realize about control is one of the, I know a lot of people think it's love that we actually look for in this world. I don't personally feel like it. I personally feel like, because love is there, it's always around. So there's really nothing to look for. You just have to open your eyes and see. But I feel like control is something that we all yearn for. And because we're in such a tyrannical system, and we're in a system of hierarchies and tiers, we have to fight for what's controlled for above us while trying to control what's beneath us, quote unquote. You feel what I'm saying? So we don't see souls anymore. We see the physical presence, and we lose sight of what that could actually be. You feel what I'm saying? This makes it so much easier to kill a child, to kill the inner child of anything, because what you in essence do is you allow that to consume you. And when the inability to control consumes you, you have to control something. But the one thing they never teach us to control is ourselves. Nobody ever really teaches us how to have self-control. They tell us to have self-control. Teach me. We're telling children at young ages to have self-control when they are boundless beings. You feel what I'm saying? Have self-control. Have some restraint. Learn to say no. And for some, your inner child does not have control. It lacks discipline because of the control structure around it. If I can't do anything, if I can never experience fun, I'm going to make my fun. You feel me? I'm going to make my fun that is going to deviate from everything that you say. You feel me? It's a heavy rebellion thing. People think that it's the rebellious, like a teenager. It's like, oh, when you hit your teenage years, you're rebellious. Nah, it's the inner child rebellion. It's the inner child rebellion because it feels itself dying. It feels itself dying. And if my connection with you is based off of your control over me, I'm going to break control. So it just so happens, oh, this child is bad. This child has these issues, that issue, blah, 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 blah. That's not really the case. The child wants control over itself. Everybody, every being wants control over themselves. But when you're so wrapped up in, and you're not taught how to control yourself, not only not taught how to control yourself, but you're also not taught that the control is yours. Self-control does not belong to you. It belongs to something else. You know, for a time it's your parents, and after that they teach you that it's a deity or whatever the case may be, or they might run it concurrent. This is who controls you. This is what, like, every day is, ordained, and it's like, why live? I'm not speaking in terms of suicidal part, but why just exist in this world? I have no control over it. So if I have no control over the things in my life, why should I have control over myself? And then if I can't have control over myself, why should I even seek to do the things that I want to do in life? I just do what everybody else wants me to do. You feel what I'm saying? And so the inner child can be controlled. And once the inner child is controlled, it shuts down. Because the inner child has a choice. The inner child has a choice. It's like, yo, it's my way. Like, it's funny as shit, but it's like, it's my way or the highway. But see, the thing about the inner child, the parent is not supposed to ever control it. The parent is supposed to unleash it, but unleash it in a healthy way. You feel what I'm saying? It's like children are so precious. But nah, children are so dope because I was reading this quote. It was a long time ago. Well, probably not a long time ago. A few years ago. But it was a quote from, I want to say Aristotle or Hippocrates. No, it was definitely Aristotle. It was one of the Greek motherfuckers. But anyway, the motherfucker said, he said, the only thing that enjoys its solitude is a god or a wild beast. So in essence, it was saying that those two things are the same thing. And it makes sense. I'll break down a little bit of that. I ain't gonna go too heavy into it, but it's like a god and a beast are pretty much the same thing. You feel what I'm saying? They're the only things that can really enjoy solitude comfortably. But it's like, so what's the difference between a wild beast and a god? You feel me? And it's the ability to control itself. That's it. God has the ability to control itself. A beast doesn't. This is why you hear quotes that say, men are just mortal gods and gods are immortal men, and things of that nature. But even if you want to take it biblical, they say the mark of the beast is 666, right? If you that number scares you. But the mark of the beast is 666, right? Supposedly. So the 6 is a symbol. It's a number, but it's a symbol, and it's right too. And it's a symbol that spirals down. This is why the beast is considered lower in nature, because the beast spirals down. You feel me? Just like the number 6 is a symbol, it spirals down. The number 9, on the other hand, is the opposite of the 6. It is the same as a 6, but it just spirals up, right? So this is why the number 9 is divinity, and it's the God number. Some say it's 7 based off of the 7 chakras, but it's the number 9. 9 is the full number of divine completion. You feel me? You hear it in Greek letter organizations. You hear it like the divine 9. The reason why the number 9 is there because the number 9 is the number of divinity or the God number, right? So when you turn your 6 upside down, you turn the beast into a god. That's it. So, I'm not going to get too heavy into that as far as the biblical scripture part, because there's a lot of depth into that shit, and that's not what this podcast is about. But I'm giving the insight behind the wild beast and the God, because at the end of the day, that's the inner child and the higher self, basically. The inner child and then the true you, or whatever you want to call it. But the inner child, quote unquote, is the wild beast that has the potential to become a god when it learns to control itself. We're not taught to control ourselves, right? And this lack of control makes us feel powerless. It makes us feel a lot of things. And, growing up, I heard it, but that's a child. But it's a human. Like, people forget that part. Like, when you see that something is a child, like, yo, it has its own experience to figure out in this world. And it's not on you to dictate what that experience has to be. They have to figure it out. You have to guide them. You feel me? You have to guide them. But we control. We're sought to control. So our inner child dies the moment we started to be controlled. You feel me? The moment we start to be controlled. And we know we're being controlled. This is why we do rebellious shit. Like, when people say, oh, children are bad, they're just well behaved and shit like this. Because in addition to that parenting module, the parenting shit, how, the system and the structure, what it is, everything is about consequence and action. There's no real learning. Like, nobody, like, when you're under that mentality of control, your only method of teaching is consequence and action. Like, for every action, you're going to get consequence. Yes, that is a law of the universe, but you still need to teach a child. There's 11 other laws of the universe that a child needs to understand. Still. You dig what I'm saying? But we only want to teach cause and effect, action and consequence. If you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen, right? But we never show them the power of the actions. You feel me? We never show the power of the actions. And in not showing the power of the actions, by teaching them consequence, if a child weighs the options out, this is how you know the genius of the inner child, right? This is how you truly and thoroughly can comprehend the genius of a child. When you look at a child and they decide why they're going to do something bad, they've already made the decision to do it or not. And you ask them, yo, did you think about it? Did you this? Did you that? It's like, yo, what were you thinking when you did this? I was thinking action and consequence. The action that I'm about to do or the self-fulfilling reward is going to give me, the consequence don't matter. You feel me? In our culture, we talk about it a lot, as far as whooping kids and shit like that. And it's like, that's the problem. The kids ain't being whooped no more. Ain't no respect. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. It was never respect. We were never taught to respect our parents. We were never taught to respect the elders. We were taught to fear them, be intimidated by them. Fear an adult. Fear somebody older than you. Fear them. No. When you're bound as being without fear born into you, and now you have to take that on, your root chakra closes up. Right? But as children, we're taught to fear so much. We're not taught to learn anything. So by learning from action and consequence, you think it's fear. To be like, well, the kids they wilding out. No, we never respected the elders. That's a plot twist to the shit. We never respected the elders. We just called it respect because we feared them. We've reached a point where we don't give a fuck about the elders anymore. We don't fear them anymore. You feel me? Because they have collectively, I don't want to speak on the individual, but collectively, they have done nothing for us. And they won't acknowledge it. They make it seem like it's our faults why children get into the positions that they're in. No, it's your parenting. If you teach action and consequence, that's the only way they'll learn is action and consequence. You feel me? And like I said, a lot of us were taught under action and consequence. So when we did our dirt, when we did the wrong things, we looked at it as like, what's the consequence going to be for me? Will I get in trouble? Think about your shit that you do right now as an adult. Hell, if you at work and you want to leave early because you don't feel like being in there, right? You weigh out the consequence. Well, how can I, override? Like, now sometimes it's like we've been able to finagle and get around certain things. So it's like I can use PTO, I can use this, I can put my retirement, I can request, I can use a sick day. You have these different options. But you feel me? That developed a lot as a child. You weighed out the consequences first. When I used to be an hourly employee, I used to always be like, man, if I skip today, damn, how much money am I going to miss out on? Fuck it, I'm going to go to work. You feel me? Even if I didn't feel like it, I would still say, fuck it, I'll go to work because the consequence didn't justify the action. You feel what I'm saying? A lot of us still do that shit. We don't actually learn anything. We learn through consequence. If the consequence isn't severe enough for us to not do the action, we'll do it. And some people don't know the depths of consequence. You feel what I'm saying? They don't know the depths of consequence. That's why I look at when a lot of STD rates and a lot of pregnancies happen in teenage years because kids don't wear condoms. Why? Action and consequence. You can sit them down all day long and have a course on, yo, your shit can come out looking like a Nestle Crunch bar. You feel me? You can show girls shit about blue waffles. You can show them all kinds of shit all day long. But as long as you still have them programmed to be action and consequence based, they'll never learn it. Even if they're supposed to be, quote unquote, learning the information. Because as they say, it can't happen to me. You feel me? Why would you feel like something like that can't happen to you? Because you don't know better. You don't know better. It doesn't fit within the action and consequence model. And because it doesn't fit within the action and consequence model, what happens is I look at this consequence, I'm like, she don't look like she got nothing. That's what a lot of people gauge it off of. She doesn't look like she has anything. You feel me? Not realizing that disease and shit can lay dormant and shit like that and all that. But these teenage kids, they don't believe that shit. And then the consequence of, if she get pregnant, well, shit. What are the consequences for that? Well, she can get an abortion. We could do plan B prior to that. Never once considering, just put a condom on. It's like the consequence is, and that is treacherous waters too, because the consequences of sex feeling so good when it's raw, I don't want a condom on if it feels that good. So the feeling that I'm seeking, that my action is going to it supersedes the consequence that can happen to me. A baby, a disease, you feel me? The motherfucker fucking with somebody else and now I got to fight this motherfucker in the street. It outweighs the consequence because the pussy feels so good. You feel me? Or in the lady's case, the dick feels so good. Or however you're floating your boat. You feel me? It just feels good to you. You dig what I'm saying? And that supersedes the consequence. So children, it's like when we ask them, did you think about the situation? Well, technically, yeah. The consequence didn't matter at that point. It didn't matter. So it's like being taught under that mentality of action and consequence makes our inner child on one dynamic not learn how to control itself. I have no desire to control myself. You feel me? Because it's like and I'm, you know what? I'm not going to say control. I have no desire to control myself, but I'm taught to hinder myself. Through action and consequence, you're taught to hinder yourself. You dig what I'm saying? You are taught to fucking hinder yourself. And in that hindrance, what it does to you is it puts you into a position where you now become extra fearful about things. What is the consequence of me doing this? And it's like, we may not ask the words, what are the consequences for me doing this? But it's already programmed to do that. I used to hear it all the time growing up, like, yo, think before you act. Because, I ain't thinking about shit. I just did it. I was action oriented. Some people can call it the Aries in me. I call it the inner child being alive and well. You feel what I'm saying? I had to learn that structure. I had to learn that control over myself. But in the beginning, it was like, shit, I grew up under action and consequence. You feel me? If I do this action, this is the consequence that is going to happen. Fuck what's in the middle. You feel me? Fuck what's in the middle. I remember one time I was a kid. I was had to be 7 or 8 years old. And me, my sister, two of my cousins, one of my cousins and my god brother, my god sister, we were all traveling on what's called the nature trail, the riverbed, whatever the case may be. It's when I was living in California and shit. We got stuck in some fucking quicksand. They was able to get out. I'm 7, my legs was too weak to pull out of the sand. So we didn't get stuck that deep or whatever. We got stuck in some quicksand. Couldn't get out the shit. You feel what I'm saying? And that situation, there was no thought behind it. There was no thought, how the fuck we get stuck in quicksand? We literally just walked through it. They didn't think to investigate it and the fuck, who the fuck thinks it's quicksand? You feel what I'm saying? But now that I'm older, I know that it wasn't quicksand. It was just some thick ass mud that we couldn't get out of and shit. That shit, when I say that shit was thick, I don't know what it was. As soon as you put your shoes in the motherfucker, it's you were stuck. My sister had to come get us all out because she had shoes on that strapped up. So her shoes didn't come off every time she took a step. Our shits were stuck. But it's she came and pulled us all out of the thing. Even my cousin, who was I think him and her about the same age. He probably a year older than her. But we was all stuck in that motherfucker. You feel me? She had to come get all of us out. But anyway, The point of that was like, it was just action and consequence. We didn't know about shit. Like parents, teach the consequence. I would be taught like, street light. Like when I was young, it's like the street lights. My mom used to always say, you got to be humble for street lights. Come on. I didn't know what the fuck she meant by that. I'm like, yo, bro, like if they like saving time is 5:00. Nah, I stayed on punishment when I was like 13. In the 8th grade, I think I stayed, like my mom, she hit me with like 30-day punishments. And there will be times when I get 30 days back to back. I get overlapping 30 days when I'm halfway through a 30. Like I stayed on punishment that much. Like this shit was like prison. Like I don't know, fucked up shit, like hard time type shit. But like, I ain't gonna say it's like prison. I ain't gonna do them brothers like that or them other people that are in that position because I don't think I could do something like that. I'm not even gonna equate it to that. But the shit was, it was a time, and after a while, the consequence no longer mattered to me anymore. It no longer startled me. It no longer worried me. Like when I would be told, hey, if you don't do good at school, if you don't do this, you're gonna get 30 days. All right. When I really put the shit to the paper, I was like, you feel me? The fuck is 30 days, bro? I do this shit. All the time. I done did like the first 3 30s, man. 30s ain't gonna do nothing. All I gotta do is stay in the house all day and shit. And the fuck? Like, you feel me? So it'd be like those things it was all consequence in action. It was all consequence in action. And eventually the consequence no longer mattered to me anymore. You feel me? The consequence no longer mattered to me anymore. Some motherfuckers realize that, they can't, whoopings don't work for their kids anymore. So some of them start picking up heavier weapons and shit like that. Stupid. That's not going to do anything. That's teaching them consequence in action. And what happens when they get them to the consequence? Doesn't matter anymore. You can no longer think, oh, you know better. You should have done better. What did you think about? I thought about the consequence. I'm not afraid of the consequence anymore. It's not that I'm being a rebellious teenager. The consequence doesn't fear me anymore. I don't fear it. Like it does not bring me fear. It does not startle me. It does not make me worried that I shouldn't do it. Fuck it. You dig what I'm saying? Fuck it. And it's like, it's no different. And like I said, because the parents don't explain the consequence. They rarely explain the consequence to the person. They constantly just, or what leads up to the consequence. They don't necessarily share that. They just share that, okay, if you do this, you're gonna do this. Like parents always do that shit. You put a lot of fear in your kids when you say, I've been where you've been before. I've done what you know you did. No, you didn't. You may have had a similar action. You feel me? And you had your own consequence for it. But you can't dictate what my consequence is going to be. You can't dictate how I'm even going to maneuver through it because you're not me. You don't have my mind. You don't have my thoughts. You don't have any of the things that I have within myself to even put me in a position to be in this space. You feel me? What then? And I'm going to get to the point of the healing, but I feel like this is a necessary part. You feel what I'm saying? Because our inner child is dead based off of the parental structure of being action and consequence based. You feel me? As opposed to action and solution oriented based, because your actions are going to lead potentially to a problem. How do you solve that problem? How do you get out? Like if I'm programmed to know that if I do this, this will happen. You feel what I'm saying? And then it's like, okay, this is the consequence. I can weigh out my options. But if I don't know what the consequence is, if I'm not in tune to that, then I can pretty much start to plan, okay, I don't know what could happen out of this. As opposed to fearing it, being 100% afraid and saying, I'm not going to go through this because I don't know what's going to happen. Typically, and it's like a lot of times this is why we are afraid to try new things. This is associated with our inner child. We're afraid to try new things because if we're stuck on the action and consequence model, we don't have a consequence for what this new thing is going to bring us. You feel what I'm saying? But then you have those who just get to that point. Like, it's a joke. It's a running joke I had heard like quite some time back. But it was funny as shit to me because it was like right before I do something fucked up, I always say fuck it. Like after I sit and think for a long time, and I was thinking about it one time, I was at work. I was like 22 selling cars, and one of my homies, we were just sitting there constantly. I was like, look, bro, let's just dip, bro. Like ain't nobody gonna know, man. Ain't no cars moving, nobody's coming in right now. Let's just dip. So he was like, we was both really kind of thinking about it. It was like, how are we gonna do this shit? And we both looked at each other like, fuck it. And then we went. And It was in that moment in processing that situation. Now I'm like, bro, that was action and consequence. We literally sat there and thought about the consequence. Because we was like, yo, I ain't never been rolled up. Well, I ain't never been rolled up. Like, you feel me? Like, I can leave. Like, nothing's happening. I already sold a car for the day. We chilling. There's, you know what I mean? There's nothing more to do. You feel me? I'm just on the clock. Like, the fuck? There's 40 other people here. It's all right, fuck it. So then we were just like, fuck it. And then we dip. And then after you do something for the first time, if you don't get caught or you don't have a negative consequence with it, you're willing to repeat the loop. And then the more times you do something without having a negative consequence, the more comfortable you become doing it. There's no thought behind it. It's like, I do this because this doesn't happen. I do this because this doesn't happen. I do this because this doesn't happen. You feel what I'm saying? And it's little things like that that are directly connected to and tied to our inner child, you know, on a grander scale. So it's like the question now comes in, what happens to our inner child? You feel me? Does the beast ever become a god, or does it remain a wild beast? Like, what happens to it? And what happens to it determines a lot of the success we'll have in life. All right. Look. The markets are not a difficult place to understand. All right. You just have to know what you're looking at. And there's 5 things that you need to see before you can make any market entry. First, you need a pocket, so you can know which direction the market is going in. Second, you need a pullback, so you can get the better price. Third, you need a battlefield, so you can see when that market movement is slowing down. Fourth, you need the upper hand, so you can see when the market reactivates. And last, you need a final push, so you can see the exact moment when it's time to go with the direction you are already moving in. Okay? Of course, there's so much more that has to go into that, and it's not as cut and dry as that. But those are things that I teach in my Mastering the Market course. So if you would like to learn more, please visit IamJustSing.com and check out the Mastering the Market course today. Although it is directed and specialized for Forex, all of the skills, I crafted them to be transferable to any market that you're looking at. So again, visit IamJustSing.com and check out the Mastering the Market course today if you are truly looking to master the market. Oh yeah, and don't forget, while I still got you, you can use promo code QUARANTINE to save over 90% off of the enrollment of the full price of the course. That is QUARANTINE, CORNTEEN. Because in putting the control, like the first step I feel like to uncovering and unlocking your inner child and actually starting to develop it is, one, the first thing is to have control over yourself. Bring the safety to your inner child to know that it's in control. Well, that you're in control, not an outside force. And your inner child will start to emerge more. It'll poke its little head out. It'll pop up from different pieces and shit. But once it knows that you're fully in control now, there's nothing that it has to look up to. There's nothing that it has to look out to. There's, it's not, oh, you're in control. And you're accepting your control. I can trust you now. But that trust has to be developed. Just as you had to learn to trust the people that you trust now, your inner child has to learn to trust you. And that's one of the hardest things to build trust when, you know why? Because your inner child trusted you from the beginning. You feel what I'm saying? Your inner child trusted you from the beginning and stopped trusting you. Everything else outside of us, we had to build trust with. It wasn't a default. We had to go through the experience of knowing, okay, you're liable to treat me right. You're liable to do this. You're liable to do that, based off of the action and consequence model. With every consequence that your actions produce, something positive may come out of it. So now I can trust you. Your inner child trusted you from the beginning. Our inner children trust us from the beginning. But once we relinquish our control up to something else, it stops. It stops trusting us. It stops trusting us. So much so that now we stop trusting ourselves. And we don't know, why we have so many doubts, why we have so many fears, why we don't feel as if we can do certain things, because our inner children don't believe that it can do certain things anymore. Because something's not controlling us. Something is not outside of us doing the controlling anymore. You dig what I'm saying? So that's one of the first things. Your inner child has to know that you're in control. It has to know that you're in control before it can even start to heal. Because why would it? Oh, I'm going to start healing for you to put me in somebody else's hands again. Now I get it, because you're a child, you're still learning the world. You had no choice. So you thought. Your parents are not, the parents and the adults in our lives aren't here to control us. They're not here to tame us. They're here to unleash us, but show us how to be unleashed the right way. You feel what I'm saying? I'm not equating the inner child to a dog or in any way, shape, or form like that, but you ever seen a well-trained dog that doesn't need a leash? Because the owner could say, yo, now, this well-trained dog has the ability and the capacity to do whatever it wants to do at will, but it doesn't have a leash because the owner knows what things to say, how to say it. The owner has trained. Now, I'm not saying in the sense of, train your children, but you got to unleash them. Unleash them and teach them how to control themselves, just as with the dog. You feel what I'm saying? I've seen dogs that are trained so well. Like, my big brother had a dog like that. My big brother had a dog that was trained so motherfucking well. He never responded until my brother told him to. You feel me? More so than that, if he responded how my brother told him to. If my brother said get him, he got him. If my brother acknowledged, play with him, they'll play. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, that's how he had that dog. But at the same time, he didn't use a leash. He kept him in the gate, of course, because he didn't want him to, wander off, but he didn't really use the leash much. Unless there was he's walking, there's other dogs out, you know what I'm saying? Because he was a pit bull, like, beautiful dog. But he would get enticed because other dogs would growl and he would feel threatened. Like, you feel me? They growl from in the fence, but weird shit. But the question is that, the point of that was that, that's how our inner children has to be. It doesn't need to be controlled. It needs to be unleashed. It doesn't need to be tamed. It needs to be unleashed, but it needs to be refined and polished. The beast becomes the God. You feel what I'm saying? The beast becomes the God. 6 turns to 9. It's you feel what I'm saying? It's little things like that we have lost, And so in the parenting structure, the adulting structure, how you treat kids is that same way. I hear so many people speak on, especially, melanated kids. It's like, if they're active, if they're not seen, if they're not just seen, but they're also heard and they're also active and they have imagination, they have personality, like, oh, you bad. Why are you so bad? Like, I hear people call their kids bad from babies and they internalize it. So why do you get mad? Like, you can't call them bad all their lives and have them internalize that shit and get upset when they do bad behavior. You called me bad. This is the behavior that bad people do. The fuck? You dig what I'm saying? It's little things like that, but it's a full dynamic to the inner child. It's a full dynamic to the inner child on both sides. The good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, all of that goes hand in hand. You feel what I'm saying? But to get back into feeling what your inner child is, you feel what I'm saying? It has to be controlled. This is why when it has to be controlled by you, but in the pretense to unleash it. You feel me? Self-control is not about restraint so much. Self-control is on the other side of restraint, actually. It is the freedom and capacity to do whatever it is that you want to do, but at the same time, having the ability to restrain yourself. You feel what I'm saying? Restrain yourself, not having to be restrained. You dig what I'm saying? And those are some of the little things that have to begin the healing process. Because a lot of our healing, our mental health, a lot of our depressions, anxieties, a lot of these things, they can be, I ain't gonna say cured, but they can be addressed a lot more when we start to identify our inner child. You feel what I'm saying? We can start to identify our inner child. But now this leads me to the second point that you gotta have with your inner child. You have to have patience. You have to have patience. Because you got to think, when did your inner child die? I don't think a lot of us have really sat with that to actually look and say, yo, when did my inner child die? When did I stop being a child? When could I no longer exhibit this stuff? When did I have to become an adult? Some of us, we don't even remember when our inner child died because we've been in an adult state our whole lives. You feel what I'm saying? Like, my brother, he pretty much became the man of the house at 7 years old. His childhood was gone. His childhood was fucking gone. And people don't understand, like when he got older, like, you know, he was finally able to do the things that he wanted to do as a kid. Like, yo, you're too old to be doing that shit. It's, you know, that's the inner child finally being able to come out. Because I'm not controlled anymore. I'm free. I'm free. But in the process of me being controlled, I never had that little bit of freedom to gradually progress. And now I got to learn my experiences differently. You feel what I'm saying? Feel what I'm saying? It's just like when women go to college. You know, women who have been on lockdown, you can't have no boyfriend, you can't have nobody call the house, you can't do this, you can't do that. They get pregnant. They be fucking in college. You can always tell the ones that were just, they won't fucking before. You know what I'm saying? You can always tell them because they can't stop. It's almost like, nigga, this is what y'all was doing when I was like 15, 16 years old. Yes, we was, but you're a lot older. You had that freedom and nobody to tell you anything. Be careful. You know, when I went to undergrad, they said by spring, 30% of your class is going to be pregnant. Damn, for real? They say, yeah. I said, no, I don't believe that. I think women got better self-control than that. It ain't just the women, it's the men. Both their inner childs are free. Their inner children are free for the first time. You feel what I'm saying? I knew a woman in undergrad who got pregnant because the dude that she was, fucking at the time, the condoms were literally on the other. Now look, it's a suite. I mean, not a suite. It's a dorm room. Literally a dorm room. You can walk from the front to the back in like half a second. You feel me? The condoms were sitting on the table and they were both on the bed and neither one of them wanted to get up. That's some inner child shit. That's some inner child shit that goes against reality. You feel me? That goes into the dynamic that I was talking about childish and childlike, but I'm gonna get to that. But those are a lot of things that you have to realize when your inner child showed up. You feel me? And it goes back to like, when did it die? Because then it's like, now, bitch, I'm here. You feel me? I ain't never go nowhere. I just lay dormant because I would have got you in trouble. Because I'm the bad side. I'm gonna get you to the consequence. Like, you just, do what you do and be controlled. But I can't be controlled, so I'm just gonna hide away until I can be free again. And then it can never be free. It never truly gets to that point free. So you got to realize, in addition to your inner child being able to come back, it has to be able to come back under the strength that you're going to control me. You are going to control me because you're me. You know me. Like, you've been with me all your life. I've been with you all my life. We rock together. You feel me? We're in the same boat. Like, let me control me. You feel me? That's where you have to get that trust back. Your inner child has to trust you again. You feel me? Your inner child has to trust you again. You know why a lot of people, after relationships, they feel like, I just can't find it again? Your inner child is not letting you find love again. Your inner child won't let you find love again because it can't trust you. Like, that love aspect, I talked about this with the 3 types of masculine energy, but there's also 3 types of feminine energy too. You have fraternal, paternal, and maternal. Your inner child has paternal energy. It's about fraternal energy. That sibling love type shit, that's your inner child. That's the type of energy that your inner child brings. You feel what I'm saying? And we let that die. That's why it's hard to become friends with people from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? But our inner child, it no longer trusts us when we get heartbroken. You feel me? More so when the inner child, like the inner child, a lot of times is the part that gets you into a relationship, but it's also the part that tell you when it's some bullshit. Your inner child tells you when the red flags are. Your inner child tells you these little things that you're oblivious to. Yeah, the inner child's like, yo, that motherfucker's cute as hell. Like, that's that playful energy that brings you into attraction. You can't deny that. You have to mature it. You feel me? But our inner child, like, it stops trusting us. It stops trusting you when a lot of people say they have trust issues because of all of the people that wronged them. It's really not trust issues. You have issues with your own decision making. Like, even if you heal trust issues in people, why do you still have the issue that if I do this, I'm going to make it? Because you don't trust yourself. You don't trust yourself. You don't have enough capacity to, trust your own decision making. The decisions that you make, the actions that you're going to make, and the things that you're going to bring into this world, you don't have enough capacity within yourself to trust it, which is your inner child always saying, yo, bro, I can't trust you. Why should I fuck with you if I can't trust you? So then this is when, like I said, so you need to have control over yourself first, and then you need to have patience with when it emerges, because you have to have patience of when it died. You feel what I'm saying? When did your inner child die? And by die, I don't mean like in the sense of it's completely gone or whatever the case may be, but it lay dormant. But not only did it lay dormant, it picked the side it was going to use, either childlike or childish. No damaged inner child is childlike. They're always childish. They're always childish. You feel what I'm saying? And there's a difference between being childish and childlike. It's different. And that is a function of whether or not your inner child is beast or God, whether your inner child is controlled or unleashed, whether your inner child is actually being taught and structured as opposed to action and consequence. You dig what I'm saying? So when our inner children are dormant for as long as they are, and we just feel empty, we feel empty. When did we start feeling empty? You know, you can have felt empty so long that you feel like you're full. You feel me? But when did our inner children die? When did your inner child die? Because that's the moment you have to go back to that. And then you have to realize, damn, I kind of put you in a fucked up situation that led you to say, I can't fuck with you no more. You feel what I'm saying? I got to build that trust back within you. I got to do the things that, and people always ask me, I get asked this a lot, yo, how do you tap into your creativity? How you do this? I had to heal my inner child. I literally had to come to terms with him. Like, I'll be fucking with you. I'm like, my inner child named Ray Ray. Listen, my inner child is literally little Ray Ray. No bullshit. Like, you feel what I'm saying? But I had to figure out when Ray Ray died. I had to figure out when Ray Ray was no longer there. Like, there were so many stigmas tied to that name. So many. Little Ray Ray and them, I was never a bad kid. Like, okay, I was bad a little bit. But, was I bad? Or was I being a kid? That's up for debate. But, anywho, going back to the point of, like, getting to know when your inner child died is the first point in reviving it. Like, you feel what I'm saying? There's things you got to actually do. Because you got to think about it. Life continued even if your inner child died. You dig what I'm saying? My inner child died, like, for real. Like, my inner child died when I was 11. Which is a crazy year. Not only because, like, people, not from a numerology standpoint, like, oh yeah, I was a number 11. That was like, I wasn't even on no type time like that. But that year, my 11th year, my inner child died. It died, and I know the moment it died too. It was, it was more so the moment I met my dad for the first time. My inner child died. My inner child died. It said, I don't want no parts of this no more. When I was 11, that was the first time I smoked weed. That was the first time I started fucking. That was the first time for a lot of shit. And I changed. When my inner child died, I changed. You feel me? I lost that childlike maturity that I had, and I went just to the childish mentality. You dig what I'm saying? And those are the two divergences. Like, when your inner child is not alive and healthy, you act childish, not childlike. See, the childlike has the childish is when you're caught in a time loop and you're doing things like, say, for attention or, you know, different things like that. But when you're childlike, it's different. Childlike is that innocence, that ability to figure things out, that ability to push forward no matter what it is, not to feel that you can have defeat. That childish mentality is just no thought. It's just action. And then you reach a point where you don't give a fuck about consequences anymore. You dig what I'm saying? You don't give a fuck about consequences anymore. Or you could be that overly fearful person who is so worried about consequences that they can't live because their inner child is so damaged. You dig what I'm saying? But my inner child died when I was 11. It was like literally a series of unfortunate events after that, because from there I kind of went down a dark path. You feel me? I kind of went down a dark path, but I never knew to control my inner child. I never knew it was a thing. I never knew what an inner child was. It's crazy how a lot of us aren't introduced to our inner children till we're grown as fuck. You dig what I'm saying? Why not be introduced to your inner child as a child? Crazy idea, right? Crazy idea. You feel me? A child should know how to talk to a child, but you know, we lose sight of that. A lot of our innocence has been stripped away from us. Like I used to always hear that shit. Yo, that baby's innocence was taken from him. And you know, when you just pay attention to what the societal structure is, you think innocence is like either guilt or, you know, either you did it or you didn't. Again, consequence and action. It's very structured how a lot of these words play out. But like we'll say the child's innocence was taken from him at a young age. You dig what I'm saying? A lot of our innocence and then our inner children, when a child's innocence is taken away from you, you can go ahead and cancel it. If their inner child show up on you. It's like, why are you so mean? Why are you so this? Why are you like their inner child is gone? It's dormant. It's not there. You know, for some it can happen as early as their infant years. You know, for some it's you know, teenage years. You know what I'm saying? Depending, but for a lot of people, especially us quote unquote millennials, late 80s, 90s babies, like a lot of our inner children were gone. It was designed to be killed this way. You dig what I'm saying? Especially in our culture. When we look at the crack epidemic, you know how many children were killed because of that? How many inner children were killed because of just the crack epidemic? You dig what I'm saying? Like that was its own thing. Then you had the 3 strike shit in the 90s with, you know, the criminal bills of that shit. Like a lot of these things play a part. And a lot of why our inner children is like, we don't have that ability. Everything is, yo, get real. You know, you need to get serious about life. Either you're going to do this or do that. Like, nah, there's so many inner children that are just waiting to show back up. You feel me? But it's not until you're alone and you're able to talk to them. You feel me? Yes. Call yourself crazy. Let people call you whatever they want to call you. As the old head said, they talked about Jesus. But anyway, you feel me? Talk to yourself. Talk to your inner child. Listen. Only way back to your inner child is to find what brought them life. When did you figure out what moment you died? Figure out what moment your inner child died. Like it's gonna take some time because some of us, like our inner children was dead the moment, like, you feel me? Like I look at, like my inner child died when I was 7. When I was 11. I look at my older brother, his inner child died when he was 7. 7 years old. 7. You feel what I'm saying? And it becomes different. It becomes different for you. Because now it's like, I got to be an adult and I don't know how. I got to be an adult while still being told that I'm a child, but I can't tap into my childlike nature. I can't tap into my child side. Because I can't anymore. I got to be mature. I got to be the big boy. I got to be the big girl. I got to be all of these things. You feel me? Because maybe our parents weren't ready. Maybe the structure was all of these other things, but it's like our inner children is dead. Dead and dormant, which makes us do the childish shit. Like that's some child, like the example that I was making about, the example I was sharing about the woman and her boyfriend who, you know, the condom was literally on the other side of the room. It was a matter of literally getting off the bed, grabbing it, and getting back on the bed. All of 3 seconds. You feel me? Neither one of them wanted to get that. That's childish shit. That's childish shit. And ultimately, they had to pay for the consequence. The consequences of having unprotected sex. You feel me? It was all action and consequence based. You know, as long as you pull out, I'm good, and like those things don't, you know, it's different scenarios that play into that shit. But when it comes to the childish mentality, that childish side makes you not give a fuck. Like that's a lot of the I don't give a fuck attitude. And people be thinking like, yo, why does this person not? They don't give a fuck. They have reached the point where consequences no longer apply to them. You know, I knew dudes who got to a point where the first time they went to jail, they cried. And every subsequent moment after that, they quote unquote did their time like a G. The consequence was no longer, it was no longer scary anymore. It was no longer a problem. You dig what I'm saying? It was no longer a problem. You check their rap sheet, they don't care. That fear of it isn't there anymore. And that's one of the biggest things. Like I said, our inner children is fear bound. You know what I'm saying? Like once you overcome your fears, that's what happens. Like, so that's why, you know, I really want to talk about this episode because like now other things are starting to be tied into it. Because if fear blocks your root chakra, then where do you think your inner child stays? You feel me? Now, as I always break down the chakras, I talk about the root being about survival. You feel me? Your sacral being about emotions and feeling, well, your feelings, and then your third is about emotions and your personal identity. Your fourth is about love, and that love is the power. Your fifth is about communication. Six is about your insight and its wishing. Seven is your divine connection, right? If your inner child is blocked, you feel me? If your inner child is fucking blocked down at the root chakra because of fear, how much more do you think you're really gonna maneuver through this world? Like, how well? Everything is based off of that. Like, if your inner child, like, this is what the iconographies of the ancients used to talk about, like in their mythologies and everything like that. Look at a lot of the popular stories. What happens? A god has a baby with a human, right? That human is brought up as a human for a long time and then gets his divine revelation. Oh, I'm not a human. I'm more than a human. Oh, I'm the creator. I'm the child of this being, whatever the case may be. So now I'm actualizing myself. I now need to learn what this all represents is, your crown, heaven, the crown chakra, seventh energy, down to the root chakra. That's your base energy. That's where your inner child starts. And your inner child will stay if you cannot master fear. You feel me? You cannot master fear. If you cannot master fear, those things are gonna fuck you up. Those things are gonna fuck you up. And you'll never get to understanding your feelings and your feelings and your sexuality if your inner child is dead. You dig what I'm saying? Therefore, your personal identity is gonna be fucked up, right? Because your inner child is gone. But in these iconographies, what happens? These things ascend down to the earth. Why is it always they start off in heavens? The God from the heaven comes down, fucks a human, and now the baby is on the earth. And what is the earth representative of? The root chakra. I can go on all day with this shit, but I'm going to stick on topic. You feel me? So that fear is these stories that you're hearing about Heru, Jesus, motherfucking Prophet Muhammad, Hercules, Jason and the Argonauts. Like, there's so many, Pericles. So many of these motherfucking stories tell you the same shit different ways. It's a reason why they tell you the same shit different ways, because there's a principle underneath all of those details. And that principle is the separation between the inner child and the adult, the beast and the God. Like, you feel what I'm saying? That's why one of the ones that I like the most, not just because it's black, but I like it the most because it tells the story the best, is the story of Heru. Okay, so Heru is born of Asar, or whatever the case may be, but skip them for a second. Heru's mission is to become Ra again. Ra's mission is to become Heru again. This is why, like, as the story starts, if you look at the Tree of Life, the Sephiroth, they have a juxtaposition of also the story of Heru up to Ra. Like, I think Ra would be Kether, and Ra is Kether, Heru is Malkuth. If you look at the Tree of Life, you have these same paths. You have the 22 paths. You feel what I'm saying? 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, 22 major arcana of the tarot. The shit's all here. You feel what I'm saying? But the principle of it all is to get your inner child back to its God self, and then back again. So Heru's story starts off at Malkuth, which is the base of the Tree of Life, or whatever the case may be, the starting point. So he has to go up through the 22 paths. You have to go through 22 paths of life. Will you know what those 22 paths? No, your inner child has to go through 22 paths of life in order to become an adult. There's 22 things that have or will ultimately shape your life forever. You feel me? Some of those things are very small. Some of those things are very big, but there's 22 things. There's 22 paths for everybody. You feel me? That's what a Tree of Life is about. You feel me? There's 22 paths. Some people don't need to take all 22 paths to get to that insightful place. Some people can go straight in a linear trajectory. Some people bounce around, but there's 22 paths that you have to get. You study the major arcana of the tarot, you see what I'm talking about. You have the Fool cards. That's why the Fool card is the first one. You feel what I'm saying? The Fool card is card 0 or 1 out of that. But the Fool card is the first one. What is the inner child? Foolish. Now, when you understand tarot, you know that the fool is not stupid. It is not like what we have made it today. But the fool card is innocent, naive, gullible in a sense, but they don't fear anything. That's the thing about it. But if you go through each one of these paths, you're going to go through 22 paths of life. Just look at those cards and you'll see some of the shit that you've gone through. Look at the moment when you were a fool. Look at the moment when you had when the tower fell. Look at the moment when the death card came into it reality, when a major cycle ended for you or some shit like that. Look at the Hierophants, the High Priestess. Look at all of these different cards and look at what they make, because these are the 22 paths. And I'm going to get to that point why I'm saying that. So with the story of Heru, he eventually goes up to Ra, which is Kether, from Malkuth to Kether. Then he comes back from Kether down back to Malkuth. And when he is Heru-Ur. He has a title added to his name, the Ur, right? I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's the personification of I ascended up to. I went from the beast to the god. Now I can move back to the beast as the god. It's different. You feel what I'm saying? Because now you have realized your full self. All this is your inner child coming up to the adult, then coming back down to the inner child. If your inner child never comes up to the adult, you remain childish. When he goes to the adult and comes back to the child, then it's childlike. And then you blend those two. You dig what I'm saying? You learn to blend those two. And so our inner children need that. It needs to be faced with that up front, from the jump, from the get-go. And the first thing we have to do is understand and take control back of our own lives. Here's why this is hard. Here's why this is going to be one of the hardest pieces to reviving your inner child. Because to take control back over your life might mean that a lot of shit is going to change. Career path, jobs, all of these things. You might realize, I was never supposed. This is why I've been miserable at work. This is why every 3 years I got to get a new job. This is why things is like, because your inner child was never in it. Never in it. And now that your inner child is like, okay, let's see if you're really going to take control over me. I don't want to do this anymore. Are you going to explain to your inner child? Well, you have to do this because this is where we are in. And you're going to say, okay, I'm with you. Now let's figure out how we got to maneuver to get out. You feel what I'm saying? My journey in an entrepreneur, like I became an entrepreneur in 2016. 2015 was when I started my self-exploration, but 2014 is when I acknowledged my inner child again. You feel me? Of course, everybody's different. Everybody has different paths of life or whatever the case may be. However, 2014, I acknowledged it. And I was in med school and I was like, my inner child was speaking a lot more than anything else. It was like, yo, I don't fuck with this. You never listened to me. You listened to everybody else but me, and I told you I didn't want to do this. It's like, damn, bro, how you get me here? It's like, I never wanted to do this. I didn't want to. And I never, and that it took me back into, and learning that, I always wanted to be a doctor, but I never realized what it was. I always wanted to be a teacher, but I never realized why. I always wanted to teach people. It's like, those are innate things in me that are that my inner child wants to do, that my inner child does well. And I had to realize that I wasn't doing it the way my inner child wanted it to be done. You feel me? But I was doing it the only way that the world showed me that is the only possibility. I always knew I was a healer. I always knew that I was a healer. So I figured as a healer, I got to be a doctor. It took me late in life to figure out, you don't need to be that. Because I can learn everything the doctors learn. And I started to see my own properties, and in doing it, my healing capabilities got a lot stronger. And it was almost like some shit would just come to me. A certain sequence of things will happen and it'll already be written in me. I'm like, how did I know to do this? And I've had to learn. My inner child already knew. I just had to refine my inner child to tell me what it wanted to do. So my inner child, like, we had these conversations like, yo, bro, you're a healer, you're a teacher, but I don't fuck with what you do because I don't want to do it that way. Your inner child is just as stubborn as you are. You feel what I'm saying? It's just as stubborn as you are. And those rebellious things like, yo, you're not doing it the way I want to do it. And we got to think about it. If our inner child is fueling our creativity, our inner child is fueling our mentalities, it's giving us the energy and the vitality to stay firm and be inspired by things, why do we not listen to it? You know, we have our inner child is, we have our intuition, we have these different things, but our inner child be knowing already what's up. And we stop trusting it because we give our control to something else. You feel me? So it stops stressing us. It's like, all right, whatever. Like I was saying, so 2014, I acknowledged it. I acknowledged my inner child. And I sat with him. I was like, bro, you've been calling this whole time. He said, yep, and you weren't listening. But now I got your attention. Let's do something. So it was like, I didn't want to be a doctor anymore. I always wanted to still be a healer, but I didn't want to be a doctor anymore. So I had to, this was more the maturing situation, because in taking control, I was able to shift my inner child from childish to childlike. And I was able to say, okay, so like, what is it that we need to do? Because we can't just walk away from this shit, like, and do nothing with life. He said, no. It's like, we're going to do what we need to do, but I just don't want to do that way. You know what I mean? Like, this is not the right way to do these things. You feel what I'm saying? It was telling me that. So it's like, all right, cool. Study, learn these things on your own. My inner child, and because I had learned to engage my inner child and unleash it, I learned so much faster. Like, it was crazy how quick I was learning, how quick I do learn, because I let my inner child run free. You feel me? I learned by learning self-control, I learned how to unleash my inner child. You feel me? I learned how to unleash my inner child. And that's why I do a lot of the things that I do. And I'm learning a lot of my friends, they're meeting me and they're like, yo, I'm hurt with this, that, and that. I'm like, yo, we'll get to the point where your inner child needs to resurface. But right now, there's a lot of things you got to uncover before you can see that. I can't just send you to that point and say your inner child doesn't trust you. Your inner child doesn't trust you. Your inner child doesn't believe you. Your inner child doesn't want to be controlled by you. You feel what I'm saying? Because we all want that sense of control, but we all seek control from outside of ourselves. This is one of the reasons why I have my gripe with, quote unquote, the submissive woman. You feel me? Because I get it. It sounds good. Like, that's why I always tell women, like, yo, y'all are stuck in a battle right now where one half of you wants to break tradition, the other half doesn't. So certain parts of tradition you want to keep, certain parts you don't. When the shit goes together, like, all that shit has to go together. So you can, in one breath, say you want to be seen and treated as the equal and still want to be the submissive woman, because by proxy and by definition, the creation of the submissive woman was to not be equal to a man. You dig what I'm saying? So it's like, that battle is, my inner child is literally emerging, telling me I don't like this shit. And you're like, I don't like this shit either, but let's keep a couple of the parts. Let's keep a few of these pieces. And it's like, no, I don't want any of this shit. Like, you feel me? When I gave, like, me giving up religion, me giving up all of this shit, that was my inner child. That wasn't me. Well, it's me, but don't get me wrong, like, it's two separate entities. But that was my inner child saying, I don't like this shit anymore. I don't. So what are we going to do about it? You feel me? A lot of us have, now that's just my perspective. That was one of the paths I had to take. One of my 22 paths as far as, that. But my inner child had to speak up. And it spoke up. I don't want to do this shit anymore. It makes no sense. I don't like it. Like, I don't like it. But I had to meet him like, yo, why don't you like it? Let's at least understand it first before you decide you don't like it. Feel me? Broke that bitch down, understood. He said, now do you see why I don't fucking like it? And then the more clear, I was like, okay, cool. You got it. When I let that shit go, that for my own personal perspective, I satisfied my inner child because I listened. And then it's like, now I hear people ask me, they're like, yo, what do you do for morality? What do you mean, what do I do for morality? I'm just a moral being. I don't get it. Like, a lot of people keep saying, like, well, how do you find your morality? How do you find your peace? I make it. You feel me? Tapping into my inner child showed me that shit. You feel what I'm saying? And actually having self-control, because when you allow things to control you, you no longer need accountability and responsibility. Our inner children need these two things. They need accountability and responsibility. Those are things that you're supposed to teach your inner child. Control, accountability, and responsibility. You feel me? Patience. A lot of the tangible, like these are how you teach them to yourself, by teaching them to your inner child. You feel what I'm saying? So in learning that and tapping into that, one of the first things to challenge was, religion and my spiritual beliefs. The next thing is like, I was like, bro, I really had not been listening to you. You feel me? But then as I started listening to him, I was like, yo, you been told me I shouldn't have been in that relationship that I got my heart broken in. Yep, I told you. We wasn't happy. But you're trying to make it happy. No. It's not going to happen. Like, we were fucked up. We were fucked up in that situation. And I tried to get you out of the shit 6 months in. Matter of fact, I tried to tell you just to hit it and leave it alone. But no. You didn't want to listen to your inner child. You wanted to listen to the mature side. You know what? Relationships are supposed to be challenging and hard. You have to get through them. Fuck that. Your inner child is going to tell you how the fuck your relationship is supposed to be if you listen. Your inner child is going to tell you how your relationship is supposed to be, because it's going to be something that doesn't kill your inner child. You feel me? Writing, music, all of these different things that I was doing, I stopped them when I was in that relationship that ended up breaking my heart. And that fucked me up too, because now that I look at it, it was two heartbreaks. It was the one that person inflicted on me, and it was the one I inflicted on my inner child because I didn't listen to him. And I realized, like, that's why that shit was so hard, because the motherfucker didn't trust me. It didn't trust me again. Like, my decision making was off, everything. It's like, and I kept telling myself, I knew I shouldn't have been fucking with her. I knew I shouldn't have been fucking with this type of person, but I did anyway. My inner child, this ain't you. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't feel right when I'm in this space. You feel me? So uncovering these things started to show me, like, my inner child has been yearning to speak for a long, long time, but I silenced them. But as I started to listen to him and shit, I was like, Ray, you ain't bad, bro. You ain't bad. You just want to be heard. You just want to be heard. That's all. And so if you're not heard, either you're going to get real loud or you're going to get real quiet. That's what our inner children do. They either get real loud or they get real quiet. Because that's the only way for them to get the attention that they seek. Your inner child craves attention, but it's on the adult version of you, the God side of you, to show that that attention needs to be transitioned into respect, to find a balance in it. You feel what I'm saying? So our inner children, it's like that process. It kind of grows. Like, as I listened to it more, like, it was like, yo, we can't work for anybody. It's like, so what the fuck is we gonna do? He said, well, we're gonna make it work. You feel me? I think my inner child still had a level of maturity that I didn't even have yet. Because it was like, well, okay, this is what we're going to do. And what really brought me back to that, now it's going to bring it full circle for the spirit animal thing. It's like, every time I'm around children, they kick game that adults don't give me. Like, low key, they be kicking mad game that's just so simple. But it's like, little motherfucker, you own to something there. So children are spirit animals too. If you're around a child that just gives you life, gives you exuberance and shit, you can learn from them. You feel me? Pay attention to that shit. Because that child's inner child is still very well. You feel me? It's not until they get to school, when they start schools and shit like that. And then when they learn how to talk a little bit, but that's when it starts to close up and die. But you feel what I'm saying? Your inner child is telling you right now, yo, I don't like this shit. I don't like the shit that I'm in. It'll tell you when it's not in a healthy relationship. It'll tell you every single time. You feel me? A lot of people, we be like, yo, that's my intuition. That's my intuition. Like, you know what I mean? Well, either way, you ain't listen to that motherfucker either. But the inner child is like, it starts to lay out templates and blueprints and says, hey, this is what I really want to do. So help me do it. You dig what I'm saying? How many times have you spoken as your inner child to an adult or something and they told you, oh, well, why don't you try this? Nope. When I started like my entrepreneur journey, that's when I realized how dormant my inner child was and how rebellious he really is. You dig what I'm saying? Because it was like I told myself, I'm not working for anybody ever again. I'm not working for anybody ever again because I don't want to. You feel me? I don't want to. That was, the childish way, the childish side would have been on some, I'm just not going to work anymore. I'm going to bounce around from this person to this person and just keep finessing and shit like that. No. My inner child is childlike. And as I spoke, I said, no, in order for us to do these things, these are the things that you're going to have to do. And it's like, yo, that was where the timeline got put onto it. It was like, yo, 5 years. It was like, yo, I'll let you be, it was basically, I'll let you be an adult for 5 years so you can let me be a kid forever. You feel what I'm saying? If you've ever been to my website on my, for my Master in the Market course, you'll see that I teach it according to, like, I even say it in there. I'm like, yo, I had to go back to being a child. I had to go back to my inner child to understand how to trade. And realize, bruh, this shit is not difficult. You feel me? That's why in this shit, I set the shit up like a superhero movie, heroes and villains. Like, I set it up like that because my inner child said, I gotta be able to understand this shit. Fuck sounding smart. Can I understand it? Like, yo, help me. You know what I mean? So it's like that gives me a different, forgive all of the background noise, y'all. I'm in a whole different state right now. And I was trying to find the best time because it's different, but you feel me? This is just, I don't know. It's heavy here. But anyway, with that childlike mentality and with that essence, it helps me see things different. I had to literally stop seeing shit as an adult. No funny shit, but adults are stupid. We don't realize adults are stupid till we become an adult and realize we ain't learned shit all our lives. We just thought that motherfuckers were smart because they were older than us. It's a lot of stupid motherfuckers. It's a lot of stupid adults. And sometimes we don't even realize how stupid we are until, we get around some smart motherfuckers. And we don't realize sometimes how slow we are until we get around kids. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, sit around some motherfucking kids and don't just, and let them rock. Don't let your patience run out. Like, when you start to see how much patience runs out of children that you don't have with children, that's how much patience you don't have with your inner child. It's that deep. It's that deep. When you can only be, I can only be around a kid, because what that child is really going to do is start to bring your inner child to the surface. That's really what it's doing. And you don't have the patience to be around your inner child because you have laid it and locked it away for so long that you don't want it to show. Because you had to lock it away, because all of the things that you were taught all your life was that your inner child is really what's leading to your detriment. But they never put the name on it. They just said, there's something about you that's just doing this and doing that. You need to focus, you need to think, and you start putting quote unquote childish things away, which is cool. But you put away your childlike nature as well. That wasn't cool. That's what drives you. That's what gets you through these moments. You feel me? Your creativity, your ability to think through things, like that's your inner child's idea. You ever got a concept? You ever had something come to you like a flash, but it was like that shit wasn't even complicated. Your inner child had already broke it down and said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do. You feel me? As I'm listening, as I'm developing, more as an entrepreneur and everything like that, I realize my inner child. And when I talk to other entrepreneurs, that are, doing it successfully and everything like that, they're not acting like adults. They're childish as fuck. It's like, well, not childish. At first, it was like, you're childish as fuck. Why you act like a kid? But then when I got to start to peel back, I'm like, oh, you're childlike. Your inner child is alive and well. That's what's fueling you. Damn, that's it. And those are the things that fuck up the rest of our reality. Our inability to love again. Our inability to go through these things. Like, everybody says, oh yeah, you got to forgive yourself. You got to forgive the people, love the people. No, you got to heal your inner child before you do any of that. For any of that to have meaning, you have to heal your inner child. You can do all of that fucking work. You can put in all the work. But until you start with that inner child and you deal with the problems that the inner child faces, you deal with the things that the inner child is telling you are problematic for them, then you can start the healing. Then you can start to change. You feel what I'm saying? I used to, be as, when I have kids, man, I ain't sparing the rod. I ain't this, I ain't that. My inner child told me, you don't like whoopings. I don't like them. So why would you have somebody else like them? It's like, well, because kids is all right, well, read the shit. Because it's like, we're quick to say that you spare the rod, spoil the child. And it was like my inner child led me to this realization that really changed my whole perspective on whoopings again. Like it's I would never whoop my kid. I would never whoop my kid. I just hope that the mother of my children isn't on that same type time. But I don't feel like we would have to. I know we won't have to, but I'm not whooping my kid. I'm not gonna threaten them. I'm not gonna whoop my kid simply because my inner child never liked that shit. You dig what I'm saying? My inner child never liked that shit. But it's like when you take that on, it's like my mentality had to change from that. And I would always be one of those people who had a quote, well, spare the rod, spoil the child. Because I was heavily religious. Motherfuckers don't be believing me, but I was heavily religious. And then I was reading, and then it was like, yo, turn the cheek to your enemy. It's like, what? And it was like one of those things like my inner child my inner child just literally like, it kind of just came up like, yo, see? Like it was like, so I'm trying to process this information. I'm like, damn, we quote this shit so much, but never really internalize what we're reading. It's like, you spare the rod, you spoil the child, you know? Now, granted, that verse actually did not mean anything that it's saying, that people have internalized it. It is not saying beat the kid. Spare the rod of correction. The rod of correction is for sheep because sheep are docile. All you have to do is block off a path and the sheep will follow it. So when they talk about the rod of correction, it was just a stick to guide. It was never actually hitting. You feel me? But we've internalized the hitting, so we'll rock with that. But then it says, turn the cheek to your enemy. So your enemy, the person who's old enough and mature enough, wise enough to know that they're doing wrong, can get that pass, but your child can't. Your offspring doesn't? How? Shit like that wouldn't make sense to me. You feel me? It definitely didn't make sense to my inner child. Then my inner child brought it to my attention. Like, this shit don't make sense. Stop repeating it. Like, this shit don't make sense. You feel what I'm saying? And so in that, I kind of started looking at other things. You feel what I'm saying? So then it's like, yo, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. We're forgiving motherfuckers who are whooping our ass. But yet our babies who really don't know what they do are the ones that we hold accountable and tell them that they know better. And we beat the shit out of them. It's like, damn, our inner children die because of shit like that. Like, think about this, like, yo, where I grew up, if you got beef, your enemies are your beef. Like, beef is enemies. And where I grew up, beef was on sight. We didn't turn cheeks to the enemies. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, why am I treating my babies like that? But I'm not treating my enemies like that? Shit don't make no sense. You know, that sends your inner child to a state of confusion. Because it's like, yo, I got to fuck up the extensions of myself and love the motherfuckers that are fucking me up? What? That's cuckoo. I'm not doing that shit. That makes no sense because your inner child has a lot of logic behind it. Has a lot of common sense behind it. But we can't listen to it. We can't listen to it. And it's locked away dormant. It's locked away dormant. But it comes back. And when it does come back, it's at the checks and balances. It's like, yo, you ready for me to pop up? Whoa, wait, what? Pop up? Oh, I'm back. Now you're going to start dealing with all of these pains. You're going to start dealing with you're going to deal with all the shit that I held away for your ass. You about to deal with it right motherfucking now. And now the question is, are you really going to deal with it? Are you going to be able to deal with it? Because your inner child needs healing before anything else can take place. So when they always tell you, do the work. Yeah, do the work. You got to do the motherfucking work. Put that work in. Stop complaining and do the work. Everybody wants to do the work, but nobody wants to sit with their inner child. Because the inner child is what's always going to tell you what that work is.
And don't forget to take a moment to go get your exclusive merchandise from Just Scenes merch. At Just Scenes, each piece is specifically crafted with positive imagery and symbolism. From the titles and designs to the descriptions, each style gives you something to feel great about. With everything from hoodies and tees to coffee mugs and tote bags, we have something for the entire family. So be sure to get yours today. Find us on Instagram at Just Scenes merch and get your merchandise right now.
All right. We're going to wrap up there because I'm learning that this is getting a little bit longer than anticipated. But yeah, man, the inner child, that's, if you're not facing your inner child, you're not healing properly. you're not going to heal properly. You know, you can get over every breakup. You can get over every heartbreak. You can get over every betrayal. You can get over everything. But until you face those exact same things with your inner child, you're going to be stuck. That's going to be like, it's going to feel like that's that missing void. It's like, what is it that is not keeping me from healing properly? What is it that is not, like, why do I still keep running? Your inner child is not healed. This is why you can get out of that fucked up ass relationship and go back into one similar to that. Why do I keep running into these motherfuckers? What the fuck is the problem? You feel me? Your inner child. Your inner child doesn't trust you. Your inner child doesn't trust you, therefore your decision making is off. You dig what I'm saying? Put it on like spirit animal type shit, because we all have our own inner child. But look at the children. Look at how children operate. If a child is somewhere they don't want to be, you'll know. You'll know instantly. You feel me? They'll tell you, I don't like this person. This person's here. We teach you got to learn how to say right things. We teach our children a lot from the beginning, but you got to learn how to say this. You got to learn how to say that. You got to learn how to do this. No, children are the most blunt, honest things on the face of this earth, who need no inebriation to do so. You feel me? Who need no time to do so. You know, elders, you know, they say the people that tell you the truth the most are the elders, the drunk, the elders, and the children. You feel me? The only difference between those is experience. You feel me? But the child is unbound from the beginning. They don't need the life experience to get to old age to say, now I have the potential. Now I'm able to do that. Because all of the people that once were able to control me, they can't anymore. So this is why I can say what I want to say now. Because you no longer have the things that you feared in front of you anymore. Some of us fear parents. Some of us fear siblings. Some of us fear cousins, aunts, grandparents. After some time, that action and consequence dissipates and it's no longer there. You're the last one. So now you can start to enforce that control that you never got. See, we don't realize that our inner children just wants to be controlled by us, nobody else. But in that control by us, it wants us to let it speak but guide us. Our parents are supposed to show us how to guide us from the parental energy. You feel me? Our inner children are supposed to teach us how to enjoy through the fraternal energy. You feel me? Fraternal or sororal energy. You know, paternal, maternal. And then our relationships are supposed to teach us how to operate from the spousal energy as well. But all of that starts with the foundational piece of your fraternal energy, your inner child, your fraternal sororal energy. Your inner child, is it supposed to be dormant? No, it's not. But your inner child has to trust you again. You feel me? Just like if you got cheated on. Imagine if you got cheated on and shit, and now you took the person back. You're like, yo, there's like, I'm not doing anything that, no, I'm gonna flip it. Let's say you cheated. You were the cheater and that person took you back. Right? And you're not cheating again. You're really not. But you can't, like, everything you do makes that person look at you different. Your inner child does the exact same shit because you betrayed your inner child to follow everything else. Don't even know that you're betraying your inner child. You dig what I'm saying? And that's a very, very hard pill to swallow, because now your inner child says, I can't trust you. How do you bring back the trust within yourself? You got to spend time with you. The same way you would go for a relationship. Oh, I'm going to make sure I do this. I'm going to make sure I do that. Blah, blah, blah. Why don't you do that for yourself? Your inner child has been betrayed. Like, your inner child really doesn't care what the reason was why you had to do it like that, why you had to break its heart. It don't care. It just knows that its heart was broken. And you need to fix that and come resolve the issue. You know, like I said, when my inner child died, I was 11 years old. You feel me? My dad fucked me over. And, you know, he did me dirty. First and last time I met him, he called me a nerd. I told y'all the stories. Y'all know what it is. But then from there, after that, I smoked weed for the first time. You know, I lost my virginity that year too. All of those things, like sequence of events, they kind of just turned, and I just kind of went down that way. And I realized, like, my inner child I never listened to my inner child. You know, we even tell children this shit outside of ourselves. Like, yo, you're a child, you don't really know what you want. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They tell you what they want and what they don't want, what they do and what they don't like. You dig what I'm saying? Like I love the way that both of my siblings are raising their kids, more or less. But you know, it's a little bit different between my brother and my sister. But my sister, the way she raises her daughter is she can not necessarily say whatever, but she's allowed to still speak her mind. And I remember one day she got angry and she was like, Uncle Ray Ray, I'm angry. You know, my first response was, well, motherfuckers, when I used to get angry, motherfuckers like, yo, get over it. You ain't angry. You ain't get like, you know. But I said, why are you angry? She literally broke down exactly why the fuck she was angry. I was like, bro, you're 3. She was 3 at the time. She's 4 now. But I was like, she literally broke that shit all the way down. And like, because we was at my sister's house, so we ended up just sitting in the stairway. Me and my niece just sitting in the motherfucking stairway talking about why she was angry. My sister comes through the door and like the stairway is like right when you open the door. So my sister walks through the door and she just laughed. She's like, why y'all sitting there? I said, well, she was angry and wanted to talk, so we talked. And like, she was like, yeah, I let her talk. I'm like, good. Like, because I actually knew why she was angry. Didn't dismiss her feelings, didn't do none of that shit. Like, that shit, our inner children be wanting that just like that. It's like, yo, I'm fucking frustrated. Why? You know, well, get over it. Like, you know how many times you've heard get over it as a child and you realize that that's why you just get over shit now? You don't talk about shit, you don't process shit because nobody ever gave a fuck about your feelings. So you thought your inner child said, fuck y'all, I'm out. But now it's coming back. Now it's coming back. There's a lot that has to go. Like, when I look at how, like, my inner child was dormant from the time I was 11 to the time I was 24. 24, then the little motherfucker just poked his head back. I said, bitch, I'm back. We're going to make this shit work. Fuck it. Like, I'm tired of just coexisting. I want to live with you in harmony with you. Like, so this is some shit we're going to have to do. So imagine that. I mean, that's 13 years. 13 years of being dormant that I never interacted with my inner child. I got to pick up that relationship. I had to pick up that relationship when I was 11. When it died. When it went dormant. I had to pick up that relationship and heal everything in between that I did to that shit. You feel me? I wasn't a weed smoker per se. You feel me? It eventually grew into that. But, you feel me? The first time I smoked weed, my inner child didn't want to do it. Like, I felt nervous. I felt like I don't want to be here. Like, I don't trust these people I'm around. I don't need to do that. You feel me? My inner child wasn't safe. And I violated that. You feel me? I pushed through it. Now, the first time I got high, my inner child was good as hell. I guess it was because of the homies I was with. It was like, it was like, yo, let's just have fun. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was. All right, let's smoke it. You feel me? You know, fucking for the first time, it was like, my inner child didn't want to do it. I was 11 years old. I didn't know shit about shit. You feel me? Like, I wouldn't even take sex education until 7th grade. I was in the 6th grade at the time. You dig what I'm saying? I had never had the sex talks. So my inner child didn't want to do it. But I was on some, nah, man, I'm 11 now. Like, motherfucker, everybody, I know I'm late. Everybody already fucking but me. Lo and behold, I was the first one fucking. You feel me? Because of stupid shit. But my inner child was just, I didn't listen to him. You feel me? Several situations occurred, like, when I didn't listen to him. And I was just like, damn, I probably would have. And there was moments when I did. You feel me? Moments when I did. It saved me tremendous amounts of things in my life. It's like, yo, bro, this is wrong. This ain't right. Don't you do this. It's like, all right, bro, I ain't gonna do this shit. Like, we was in sync with that shit. But, you know, there's other times when it's like, come on, and it's just like, fuck it. Like, we let our shit lie dormant, you know? But it comes back. And a lot of us right now, like I said, in the year 2020, a lot of us are really facing that and dealing with it right now. This is what we're dealing with. You feel me? This is some of the inner work that we got to do. And this is the missing piece of inner work that people don't talk about. Facing your inner child. Because you have to remain childlike all your life. Your life is an extension of the ebb and flow between those 2 points, the beast and the God. You have to walk that thin line. You dig what I'm saying? You have to walk that thin line. So this one was just like, I want everybody to tap back into their inner child, y'all. Their inner children. Like, but you got to realize there's a lot that you got to do. It's a lot of healing that you gotta, in order to, if you want to fully heal in this world, you're gonna have to fuck with your inner child, fuck with them heavy, and you're gonna need to apologize. You're gonna need to do these things, like, because it's one thing to feel like, okay, I gotta apologize to myself, because it's like, well, damn, I'm tough, I should be able to get through it. But nah, your inner child is different. It has a different piece to it. This is why, like, if you ever paid attention to it, people that go through significant traumas, they start doing childish shit again. Like, they start acting like a kid once they get significantly hurt, because that's what they regress to. But then when they regress to the safe mechanism, which is their inner child, they have to regress to the moment it died. Did your inner child die when you were 2? Did your inner child die when you were 3? Has it ever had those moments of maturity that can continue to grow and develop? To be that inner adult, to be the inner child that's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when did you die? Like, I'm going to say this and I'm going to wrap it up. Look at Lion King, right? When Simba was supposed to be king, right? But after the shit with Mufasa and shit, rest in peace, bro. Moment of silence for Mufasa. But anyway, after Mufasa died and shit, Simba died. His inner child died. I don't think we paid attention to that part in the movie. His inner child died and wasn't reborn again until he met Nala when he was older. Remember when she pinned him? Like, that's why those 2 points were very significant in that movie. When they were kids and she was like, pinned you again. And then they showed that mark. They made sure they made that visible. So down the line, when he became adult Simba, or the case may be, as they're fighting, she pins him. He's like, damn, Nala, she brought him back to his inner child in that moment. Just remember, she was like, yo, who are you? He was like, it's me, Simba. And it was like, yo, where you been? The inner children came back between the two of them in that moment. Inner children that died, her inner child died when when she thought Simba was dead. You feel what I'm saying? When Mufasa, like, their inner children died at those moments. And so when you look at what Simba did through his Hakuna Matata, that's some very childish shit. It means no worries. I don't have to be accountable. I don't have to do these things. But he was supposed to be king. Do you see how these stories are written right in your face? I still like Heru the best though, but it's in Lion King too. It's in a lot of these movies. You feel what I'm saying? He died. His inner child died. His uncle wanted to kill him, all of this other crazy shit. He didn't know what the hyenas were trying to take him. Like, he was a traumatized little cub. You dig what I'm saying? So when that happened, it died. He met Timon and Pumbaa. You feel what I'm saying? And they shit died too. Cause you feel me? Like, listen to their story when they're singing about, well, when Pumbaa is singing about why he don't fuck with nobody. Nobody fucked with him. So his inner child died. To him and Timon, their inner childs merged. And they kind of just flowed together. But Simba stayed in that space. They kind of all stayed in that space. But until Simba went back and reclaimed the throne, it changed. He realized what he had to do. He couldn't run from his past. He had to be accountable. He had to be responsible. He had to do all these things. And he had to spend time with his inner self. He had to heal that shit. Because you got to see the part when Mufasa actually came back in the clouds and shit. That was the first moment, when you really think about it. That was like a pickup moment, bro. He's like, yo, I've always been with you. He told him, he said, I've always been with you. But Simba was still that little boy. His inner child, when his inner child died. A lot of us are in that space right now. A lot of us have been in that space. But in order to face it, you have to face that. You have to face the moment when it died. All of your healing, I ain't gonna say it's gonna be futile, but it's gonna be like healing with a limp. Like, if you ever break a leg and shit, and then you don't get a stent on it, and you just let the shit grow back how it's gonna grow back and shit, now you got a deformity in your leg and all that shit, you're healed. But you didn't address the source. You didn't address the source, and you didn't fix and medicate the source, so it created the remainder of the reality to come out like that. The future to continue down the same trajectory. You feel what I'm saying? So in your inner work, your inner healing, your shadow phase, all of that shit, focus on your inner child. Go back to your inner child. Go back to the moment when you stop feeling like you could have been a child. Go back to the moment when you stop trusting yourself. When your inner child literally stopped trusting you, you'll know the moment. You'll know the moment. the moment your life completely changed and shifted, you'll know. Like I said, I'm sorry if your inner child was taken too early to where you can't remember it. Go back as far as you can. Go back as far as you can. Your inner child needs to know you're trying, so that your inner child can start trusting you again, so your inner child can walk with you. Sometimes kids can protect us from things that we don't even know are around us. You feel what I'm saying? And that's what our inner child needs, So I'm going to end it there. Yeah, this one was just one of those ones that I felt like I had to talk about, because I've been hanging on to this one for a long time, and I finally felt the peace to talk about it. But be sure to follow me. As always, be sure to follow me on Instagram at _just_sing_. Be sure to check out my website at IamJustSing.com to get all things that are Just Sing. And yeah, that's about it. Be sure to kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables, and please, please, please learn their inner children. Learn, if you have children, if you plan on having kids, really be attuned and attentive to their inner child. But to know what an inner child feels like and looks like, you have to awaken yours. You have to heal yours. You have to build that trust back within yours, so you can be in that same space, so you can recognize children. I was always told that, like, babies and animals can always recognize a good soul. And I realized that it's not necessarily a good soul, but it's an inner child that hasn't died. It's an inner child that hasn't died. Not only has it not died, it's alive and well. The states you feel, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to tie it up. The type of energy you feel when you're around children is the state of your inner child. If you get around kids and you just feel nervous, you feel scary, you feel like you don't want, that's how your inner child is feeling. Because high key, that's how you feel around your inner child. It's just the outward manifestation of it. Because these are visible children that you can see. You have these type of things, but that's how you feel towards your own inner child. So imagine the way in which you stay away from these children. What if you had a gift that you were supposed to teach this particular child, but you stay away from it because children make you feel a type of way? What are you keeping away from yourself because you won't teach and give back into your inner child for the same very reason? You feel me? Tap into your own inner children, and with your babies, make sure they're allowed to keep their inner child alive. Because that's what's going to make them have a better world. That's what's going to make them have a better life. But with that being said, as always, kiss your babies, make sure they eat their vegetables. And I'm going to see y'all all on the next one. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.